What's up, Dirty Disc Golf, and welcome to part 2 of our road to 450. So today is all about form. I've gone out to a field and I've recorded some slow motion video of me throwing a couple different shots, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at this footage and figure out exactly what it is we need to fix in our form and able to help us increase distance and efficiency. So we've got the form pulled up right now. I have a couple different views, but we're gonna start with this side view. We're gonna start to play through it. So as we start the X step, right as we get to about here, we notice our first problem. So the first thing I notice is that my body weight has already shifted too far forward. You can see if I draw this line, my weight is kind of headed off that way, where ideally I would love to have my weight a little more centered. I don't want to see my body leaning quite so early. So that's the first thing that we're going to notice that we're going to need to fix as we try and adjust our form. I also, wonder if we look at this back foot here, it's pointed pretty far back, which has my hips turned pretty early. So that's something we might pay attention to as well. But as we continue through, something I am doing well is that the disc does tend to stay in one spot for the most part as we go through our X step. There's a little bit of movement there at the end, so we'll definitely work on that. But there's something for sure going on here with my wrist actually that I want to highlight. So if you watch, and there's right there, you see the wrist totally uncurls, and then as we go to pull through, the disc actually comes up and then dip down. A freeze frame right here, you can see this angle that the disc's on. The disc is going to kind of travel at that angle as it pulls into the chest. The forearm kind of rotates and comes down. So I think that's where a lot of my off-axis torque is coming from. So we're definitely gonna need to fix that. There wasn't a ton going on with my left arm either in terms of the timing and initiating the spin. It just kind of like barely tucked in, but maybe a little too late. And then this last step I think is a little bit too big and too staggered. I think I'm losing a lot of power there because when I go to kind of drive that back leg on that plant foot, the disc is kind of already gone before I get much rotation at all. So another thing I want to kind of point out here is just on that plant foot as we look back, I plant pretty flat. It's not really any heel toe action. So maybe that's something we'll look into as well. And then kind of last thing, notice in this angle as we come through right here, you see that the hand isn't quite sandwiched on the disc. The hand is a little in front of the disc, so I'm kind of missing a little bit of that power pocket. So that's something I want to fix. But we do see kind of a good, that's wrong, a good 90-degree angle here for the most part. So overall, there's some good things going on, but you can even see, just right there how wobbly that disc is coming out. So let's go ahead and take a look now at this angle that we got pulled up here. So I'll highlight some of the same things, but give us a little bit different view of it. So as we start to pull through, so far so good. This is right where we see our body weight, starting to shift over a little too much, and you can see how far back this foot is planted. So that's something I want to pay attention to. So I start to come here. So what I really want to watch in this angle is two things. I want to watch this plant foot, and I also want to watch the wrist and the disc. So right there, boom, you see that disc really break and that wrist really break. I'm not totally sure why that's happening, but like I said, I think that's really contributing to a lot of off-axis torque. So that's something I want to fix. And then boom, if we look at a couple things here, the plant foot, one, pretty far staggered. I think a little too far staggered, so now my momentum is kind of going right to left as opposed to forward. But then also, if you watch the path of the disc, we start out here, then we kind of move up before we pull in. So the disc ends up here. Not sure, you kind of have this swooping motion now. The disc is on this angle, kind of headed in that way. You can see the angle of the disc there. So the disc is going to have to travel kind of a strange down and then through on that one. So those are the main things that we're gonna be noticing on our form that we're gonna be taking a look at and trying to fix. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna head out to the garage. I have a couple different drills in mind that I'm gonna walk you through, that I'm gonna be running through over the coming weeks, that I'm hoping will help fix some of these issues and get my form a little bit cleaner.
Okay, so now that we know what the problems with our form are, we can start to be more strategic about how we're gonna go about fixing them. So I really wanna take a ground up approach. The first thing I'm gonna work on, the first drill, is gonna be footwork oriented. Now, all of this is coming from Overthrow Disc Golf. So if you haven't already checked out their video on footwork, you might as well pause this video and go watch that one first, because essentially I'm just recreating a drill that they came up with. So all credit to them. So what I've done is I've taken some painter's tape, and on the floor here, I've gone ahead and marked out each step of my X step, where it should be, the angle that the foot should come down, and what it should look like. So that's gonna be the first step. The second thing I'm gonna add into this drill, though, also comes from an Overthrow video on revisiting the reach back. What they did is they talked about how Paul used to practice grabbing onto a pole to keep the disc in one place before he would pull through. So I just have a microphone stand here. Any stationary pole should work, but I'm lining it up right here with the right foot before the left foot comes back behind, or opposite if you're a left-handed backhand player. So the way this should work then is I walk through these steps, right? Go right, left, right, grab the pole. So that would be a pump, which you would have, some players have, not all do, but for the sake of this, I think I'm gonna try and work that in. So right, left, pump, grab, left, step. Trying to stay on the tape with each step. Grab the pole here, keeping the disc stationary as I come through, and then from there working through. So already I can tell that feels really awkward. I'm having to think really intentionally about every single step before I take it. But the hope is with this drill that taking it slow and repetition is gonna be the key. So my goal this week is to do this drill 100 times a day without throwing a single disc. So I'm just gonna walk through this over and over again until I can do it second nature, right? Left, pump, grab, step, turn. Trying to land with that toe down here. Now the other thing that I'm trying to focus on, something we saw in the form review, is that on this X step, my weight was getting too far ahead of myself. So something I'm gonna really try and focus on, and this comes out of the footwork video for Overthrow as well, it seems like there are two possibilities. Either you can do a little crow hop here, keep your weight back and come through. That doesn't feel super natural to me. So the other suggestion they had was to kind of pop the hip. So as you come here with the right foot, you kind of pop the hip to keep your weight back and then walk through and pull. So I think I'm gonna try and do the hip pop, not the crow hop, but I'm gonna play with it as I walk through this about 100 times and see where that leaves me. Okay, so the next piece of this that I'm really gonna be working on is using the left arm, the hips, the left leg to really drive the rotation to get the torque and the power through the core for this throw. So I'm gonna be back on my tape markers, still with my stationary pole here, and I'm just gonna get on this final piece, the final step right before I throw. Hand on the pole as if I'm in position, toe down, heel up, and what I'm gonna really focus on is having my shoulders rotated and then driving the left arm, driving the knee, forcing that heel down to try and get rotation and to get some lag here to get this arm into the power pocket. So really focusing on trying to engage my core. I feel it a lot, especially here on the left side, and I think that's what I'm going for. So same thing, just gonna drill that over and over again without ever throwing a disc. We'll go for 100 times a day as well. See if I can't make some muscle memory there and then integrate that into the entire X step. Okay, so the final piece that I'm gonna really be focusing on is that weird thing I had going on with my wrist and the disc kind of blowing out and then getting off angle and coming down and then up. Some of that off axis torque. So to be totally honest, I don't have a great drill in mind for how exactly to fix this. So if you have some ideas, let me know in the comments below. But what I'm gonna try is getting back on my tape markers, back with my pole here in a similar position and working through them disc in hand this time, but as I come through, really focus on, there's my pump, pop the hip as I come through, just keeping that disc flat, level, that wrist kind of locked in neutral, coming through, keep it there the whole time, leave it there, and then pull through all on one plane. So I'm gonna try and do that a lot, really focusing on keeping the disc flat and straight, on not blowing out the wrist, and see if I can't kind of rework some of that muscle memory that way. So I'm gonna be running these drills, like I said, for the next week, every day, 100 times through, just trying to get them into my body, get myself to figure them out. And then at the end of a week, I'm gonna go back to a field and try and take it slow and see if I can't make some of those changes stick. So if you've been working on your form this off season, I'd love to hear in the comments below what things you've noticed and how you're going about fixing them. If you have great drills or techniques or little tricks, I'd love to hear them, or maybe if you have advice on how I could help fix some of my issues, I'd be interested in that as well. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure you like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Journey Disc Golf. I'm excited that you're a part of this journey. Part 3, we're gonna be really looking at mobility, strength training, fitness, and overall athleticism, and how that can be a part of our journey to break 450. My name's Andrew Wood, and remember, the journey is the destination.